welcome to the 214th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Liam, and I'm joined solely by the House of the Dragons number one hater, Jaden.
Howdy.
Hello, how are you?
I forgot to move my mic. Hold on. It's actually going to yell
Oh,
at me.
he's gonna yell from the grave. He's gonna come back from the grave. Yeah, today we are Zachless, and we're doing Good Night and Good Luck, which was directed by George Clooney, written by George Clooney and his friend Grant Heslov, who Jane has apparently discovered that he does his espresso commercials.
Mm-hmm.
So, good friend and collaborator, I guess. And the movie is about basically Edward. Is it Edward Murrow?
I think so.
Murrow, yeah. And his kind of TV producer friends, kind of fighting back against McCarthyism on the air, on the television. It's a very short film. It's a 90-minute film. And I think, as Andy said in the Discord, there's like 15 minutes of footage in it as well. So the actual screen time for the actors is quite low in this film. But having said that, it's quite an all-star cast, RDJ is there, as we'll probably talk about later. And a few other guys. I mean, not Jeff. What's that guy's name? What's like the
Like the news guy.
the guy? No, the guy that appears like period. The Dumb and Dumber guy. What's his name?
Yeah. The guy that's on the Good Morning show now.
Yeah, Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some other big people. Yeah, I guess we'll just head into it. Jane, what did you think of this film?
I just want to say we needed to snake this one in, the communist one, while Zach is away, because he's a big time venture capitalist, union bust type of guy. Yeah. He's still very, very much deeply entrenched in the McCarthyist ideals of outing your friends, and he cuts all ties with anyone that expresses anything that's like remotely left. Just thought, this is important for the viewers to know on Zach's character.
Yeah, it's very thematic that we get this out when he's not here.
You can't censor it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this, like a shit ton. I haven't really looked at this period of time in America since early uni, so it's nice to revisit it. I think I love the tone of it. I love the vibe of it. Andy's completely right in kind of having like the kind of jazz that punctuates throughout is just really nice, kind of as a constant like motif. I think all the performances are really impressive, especially David Strathairn, of course. And I quite liked. Zach said, I think they both said in their reviews that like the real life footage is like the best part, but which I really disagree with, because I think like what we're presented with is really tight shit,
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a very well made film. The cinematography, the black and white cinematography, is pretty great. The whole kind of Mad Men, jazzy feel that you're talking about, where everyone's just smoking cigarettes, and wearing kind of suits is cool. So I don't know. It's very well made. It's very kind of nice to watch. It feels kind of cozy in a way for me. But yeah, I just wasn't. Yeah, I couldn't really get into it. I couldn't really get. I guess I was engaged, but I wasn't really interested at any point. But I do actually agree that the footage was. It was also probably the best part for me.
Really?
It was also it was just it was interesting just to see how I don't know how McCarthy actually was, because he seems a bit he's a bit of a enigmatic figure in these films about McCarthyism, because he's never like directly addressed, like on the waterfront and the Crucible, that kind of allegory, So to actually see the man himself and see these hearings, it was kind of interesting.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the acting is excellent all around and the directing and stuff. But I just really couldn't care that much. I think like there are a lot of these types of movies about journalistic integrity and that kind of thing, and it just felt almost a bit too subdued for me, I guess, because like I think that's what this film's going for. Like it's just like very realistic or whatever, very undramatic in its approach. And it doesn't care a whole lot for tension or anything like that, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. It worked for me in feeling this environment and stuff, but overall, I think there was just little too too little stakes to kind of for me to care, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
Mm. No, I definitely get that. Um, it is just very procedural, I guess. In like one
Mm,
thing happens, and there's never like, yeah, I don't know. You never, even like when like one of the characters pays the ultimate consequence, it kind of felt like there was like, I know like there was build up to it because he expresses his worry, but like you never really expected anything more to happen. It kind of felt, yeah. I think you're right in that it didn't really feel like it was concerned with tension.
yeah, and I guess the structure of it was a weird kind of choice to have that kind of speech at the start
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of made you feel like everyone in that room was safe. Although I'm not sure if RDJ and his wife. I think one of them had to leave at the end, right?
I think they both left, but then
Both
in
left.
I have some trivia about this. In real life, they both left and went to. I think one of them went to write for the Times, but then after 10 years, when Joe voluntarily quits to avoid being fired, he'd spend 6 years writing at the New York Post before returning to CBS when they changed their policies later. So I guess that yeah, I guess
Uh,
RDJ does quit. Yeah.
mm, yeah. I mean, we could start with performances, I guess. I think like as I said, like I think the word here is like subdued. I think everyone does a really good job at playing like having a subdued performance and kind of just their accent and their demeanor is very just of the time,
Mm.
Um, so I think it feels very authentic to this era. It feels like a lot of research was done. Like, um, I don't know, like they sometimes use names and terms that are kind of like they feel a bit outdated or they're a little different to what we would use, I guess. So it just feels very, uh, it feels very well researched and well executed in all
Mm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I've read in the trivia, it seems like this like Clooney is really passionate about whatever this was and like in like creating it.
Mm.
It's like he'd get papers of like the given day that they're meant to be recreating, given to the cast, and the cast was meant to pitch him news stories from the papers, and then those would make it to the meetings. So like Clooney kind of like extensively went to like great lengths to like kind of ensure like an authentic atmosphere and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it did. I mean, especially when you're making a film that's like this specific,
Mm.
about this specific program in the McCarthy era. I mean, I'm sure it was like probably like one of the main driving forces that kind of brought McCarthyism down, I guess, or like one of the big.
Actually, this says Murrow acknowledges otherwise, saying that by the time in '54, McCarthy's power was already waning, and that
Oh, really?
he's not the real hero because he says that the real hero is the other journalists that were already fighting, and that like Murrow's kind of like the nail in the coffin type of
The
thing.
nail in the coffin. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it seems like he was still important to some degree, but I do. Yeah, I kind of got that sense from the footage actually. Like by the time McCarthy had to acknowledge Mara, it was kind of like he's already like conceding his power a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting
Mm.
because they don't. Yeah, we're solely kind of focused on this newsroom, so we get less kind of outside context, I guess.
It's probably just the
Um,
thing where it's like still like the most publicized version of it because it was TV.
yeah, yeah,
Like
true.
and you just can't beat it at the time.
Mm, yeah,
It's like she sings at the start, Liam. Radio is great, but TV is taken over.
Oh yeah, we should that like advertisement song.
Mm.
That was great. Um, but yeah, what do you think? What do you think the performances in general? Do you agree that it's like they all do a really good job of being, just subdued and of the time? I guess.
Yeah. I think Strathen absolutely nailed the voice. I don't know what he actually sounds like. Um, I
Oh
think I
yeah,
have seen him
yeah.
in other stuff, but
The
that
accents are
that
great.
kind of voice is so distinctly 50s 60s kind of, like mid-century American. Um, and like it's it's pretty much all but gone today. So like I don't know, to hear like Mara do it, in a not Mara, to hear Strathen do it as Mara in like a very
Mm.
accurate way is you know completely understand his nominations for everything just through that alone. Um, and I think the other one that really impressed me was the guy that played Bill Paley, like the CBS studio head. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think everyone else was really good as well. Like the all the newsroom guys and all that stuff. But I think those two are the ones that kind of stuck out to me.
yeah. Frank Langella, he's quite good. He's been in a few things. I do agree actually. I think his accent was also pretty unique. Um, RDJ kind of felt, I don't know. He felt pretty, you know, pretty regular for like pretty. He felt pretty consistent with
Mm.
himself, I guess, with other performances. I guess slightly toned down, um, which suits the film. But I do agree that those seem like the standouts. I mean, Ray Wise as like Don Hollenbeck. I
Oh yeah,
think he was pretty great,
yeah, it was
and
great.
his subplot, his kind of thing was interesting.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
I think it's interesting that Oppenheimer gets mentioned
yeah,
in
yeah.
this film with
It's like a
RDJ.
teaser for the
Yeah,
next. Oh yeah, yeah.
and
With
apparently you can
Oppenheimer.
see Robert Kennedy as well, like in like some of the footage with McCarthy.
Oh
It's like a
really?
teaser for Irishman as well. You know.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they mention what's it, Hoffer as well. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, yeah. I was thinking about that. I was thinking like surely Nolan's seen this film. Surely he got something from this to put a RDJ in the in that setting and with the black and white as well. It feels kind of um auspicious to that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think because it's just on sorry on RDJ's performance like as being more subdued. Like I think this is kind of what I was more seeking out of his Oppenheimer thing because I don't know if you remember that in that review, but like I was kind of meh on Robert as
Mm,
his character. So like I think I was expecting something a bit more like this, right? But like because in Oppenheimer, it's still a bit. He's kind of got Iron Man tendencies where he's like kind of showing off and stuff. But like I get that maybe the senator he was playing, but it just didn't fit. Like it felt too akin to Iron Man for me, given that he was meant to be his break. You know,
mm. I
not that
don't
I.
I don't
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't see how you get that from him though. I
No.
didn't know. I got more of a cocky vibe from this guy actually, but like not to the extent of like Tony Stark, but yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
I mean, this yeah, as I said, this character is just kind of a toned down version of RDJ. It feels like I feel like he didn't do it a whole lot in this film. Although he wasn't like a huge character.
No,
Yeah,
his whole like thing was just his relationship with Richard Clarkson, pretty much.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It pretty much just serviced that that subplot.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, what do we think of how this movie deals with McCarthyism? I don't know. It's I guess one way to look at it, one way to kind of talk about this is like how the injustices are kind of it's as I said, it's a very undramatic kind of film, and everything's just kind of through footage or through discussion. So it's very true to the time in that sense, I guess. How do you feel about how? the subject matter was dealt with, I guess.
Um, yeah, I guess I am used to a little bit more dramatic stuff, mainly because of those two texts you mentioned earlier. Because that's what we studied, in high
Yeah.
school. Well, not you, but we did.
I studied them. Yeah.
And weren't you in advanced English?
I swear we always talk about this.
Dude,
Yeah,
every time.
year 12. I went to lit in year 12. So
Ah,
in year 11, I did this. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So yeah, I think I think like the McCarthyism that I'm a bit more familiar with is a bit more, you know, kind of intimate and dramatic because you're outing your friends and you're accusing the people that you love and all that stuff. And
Mm,
so it was interesting to see it in this kind of more mellowed light where, and especially in like a room of like-minded individuals where like I think that's the main thing. It's just that everyone's pretty much on the same page in this room. So any
yeah.
discussions I have
Yeah.
about it are all kind of the one side, which is not something that I've been exposed to really in the past because it's always been all the allegory has either been one way or another, or like it's been people suffering from it. So in this, when they can just discuss the kind of policies of McCarthy and they can, you know, admit to what they've done, what they haven't, and how they feel, it felt, very different to me, and as opposed to like what I've previously seen.
Yeah. I mean, even in Oppenheimer, it's like the same thing where it's like Oppenheimer has
Yes,
to
true.
choose between, outing his friends and going with the lieutenant with the government kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, um, uh, I've lost my train of thought. No, yeah, I do agree. The only time that it felt like maybe we might venture into that territory was like when when the random guy came up to RDJ and he kind of gave him the file, and
Mm.
then that felt like it would, that's what RDJ would be there for. But then it ended up being the kind of, the marriage thing or whatever,
Mm.
which was like, I don't know. What do you think of that? Because that wasn't totally, adjacent to the McCarthyism thing, but that just felt like another thing that was genuine to the time, I guess, because there are also like these inserts of like different advertisements, and there's that song at the start which you mentioned, like kind of classy, jazzy stuff, that she sings at the start, and like it just feels like there's all these like little details, and sticking true to the actual story. Um, them having to leave CBS because of the marriage issue is like another thing that was just kind of put in there to make the film like feel more authentic, I guess. Because I can't see
Yeah,
how it directly relates to like the McCarthyism, you know,
I think it's
situation.
I don't know. I think I can't imagine like the issue with I imagine the issue with the marriage was like they want to kind of retain as much integrity as they can with their journalists and like ensure like no one's getting a positive bias because they're with a spouse. I assume that's the issue that CBS took. But then as to like its
Mm,
inclusion in the film, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it is interesting because like it kind of could have been a witch hunt within CBS, but then you know, old mate Jeff Daniels acknowledges that everyone knew and no one cared. So whether that's a comment on
yeah.
what like the policy should have been, like be like there's communists around, but there's just people with different ideologies, just ignore them. Like it felt like a very kind of succinct way of saying that. I guess is
Okay. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
closest I could kind of get
Because
to
no
it.
one kind of outed them, even though they knew. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're all their
That's,
friends. They're their friends, and you don't want to betray your friends.
mm, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess that's the yeah. I
That's
think
the
that'd
commentary
be the
angle.
inclusion. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Cool. So what did you? I don't know if I fully understood. Um. The Don Hollenbeck stuff. Um. Because I think so. They say he uses the word that he was like a pinker, which is like someone on the left. And he used to write for a kind of a democratic like publication, I guess. But and he was like really affected by this review.
Mm.
Um, O'Brien, who's someone that was kind of like who seems to like rail against people on the left or something. I don't know, but what did you get of this?
I just kind of like I thought this was kind of let down by the closing obituary on him because like I thought that should have been like far more punch. Like I mean, I guess it's real life, so you can't really change it. But it should have been far more punching against McCarthy because the way I read it is that McCarthy killed Hollenbeck because he was like I see it that he was really scared of being outed, given that like the O'Brien article named him as a successor for Morrow, and like he was getting really worried with all the chatter about it. So he'd rather die than kind of be ostracized and without work and removed from the industry and all that stuff. So like yeah, I think it's like a very direct.
Okay,
Like I think the film frames it as a very direct kind of consequence of the policy, but then Morrow's like kind of obituary tribute to him it fails to acknowledge it at all, and whether he was just done with the fight at that point or whether he actually did just want to pay respect to to that guy whose name has already slipped my mind. What was it?
Don Hollenbeck,
Don Hollenbeck, yeah.
I think.
And like not want to try and like politicize him post death or whatever. But yeah, I feel like I feel like that was kind of that part of the story
Okay,
was let down by it being not punchy enough at his death.
okay, yeah, yeah. So he was actually fearful that he'd be outed for some like communist thing that he might have been a part of or something.
That's how I was reading it.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I feel like they could have been a little bit clearer on that because I mean, I'm not sure if this is actually the case, but it felt like he was just kind of more upset by like the public scrutiny, I guess. Which I think like if we're analyzing the times, the public scrutiny is like a massive force, I guess. So
Mm.
it makes sense from that angle. If you don't, even if you think he wasn't like involved in any communist stuff in the past. Um, yeah, I really liked his performance. Like, it gives me the same vibe as there's this there's this really great older actor in Glenn Ross. I forget his name, but he's like this classic Hollywood actor, and like it's a similar kind of worried, like sad kind of older man kind of performance. It's like it's really kind of it's kind of hard to watch. It's kind of frail. It's kind of I don't know. It added a lot to the film for me, um, especially like Murrow feeling somewhat guilty about involving him in it.
Mm.
Because I guess as you're saying, like this was like the kind of the big consequence that Murrow had to face for facing McCarthy. So yeah, that was um, you know a decent part of the film for me. Like, not good what happened, but it's a good part of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
This
trivia.
is
Oh, sorry.
yeah. Sure. Yeah. You
Uh,
can do that.
I thought this was really whack. So like the film was shot on a $7.5 million budget, right? And the set was all built on one level, like everything was on one like kind of soundstage, and the elevator just rotates to give it the impression of kind of changing
Oh, okay.
floors. But like the part that tripped me out most about the set was that the film was shot in color, but on a grayscaled set, and then it was desaturated in post production, and then released on black and white print stock. Like, I like it's just like I feel like building a grayscaled set
Yeah.
would cost a lot of money of your budget, no? But I guess in the cost way up when you're buying black and white film at the time, I guess maybe it was worth it. But like to take all the color out of your set to make it easier to shoot on color, I don't know. It's just a really interesting kind of technique and
Mm.
or idea, which I'd commend. I don't know Clooney and his
Yeah.
production designers on. I guess. I think it's just a really cool thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
this film it does like look quite unique in terms of the black and white aspect
Mm-hmm.
of it. Like, it does have that feel to it where it doesn't feel like something was just like slapped on at the end.
Mm.
Um, so it's cool to see how that was actually produced, I guess. But yeah, that is a strange way of going about that.
Yeah, I think because I think they use a similar technique for One Division, didn't they? Just as like a
Oh,
more
I don't
contemporary
know.
thing. I think for the first couple episodes they just painted the actors,
Oh, really?
and then I think the sets were black and white as well. But that's with Marvel money, and it's
Yeah,
when it's one of the most expensive shows made. This is Clooney on a $7.5 million budget,
yeah,
where he's getting
yeah.
paid $3. Um,
And you got all these massive actors as well. So
yeah.
that's yeah.
Um,
Well, I guess we can talk about the footage. Again, I guess. Yeah, as I said earlier, like I really enjoyed seeing the McCarthy footage and the hearings. I felt that I gained a slightly better understanding of um, McCarthy in general, or like why he was popular, or just his manner. And I think I think the main thing this showed was like he was a pretty convincing speaker. You know,
mm,
like he was very kind of down to earth in a way. Like, of course, his kind of aspersions were like kind of extreme or whatever, but um, yeah, the way he spoke really kind of captured me, I guess. And yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing the hearings. Yeah, everything kind of fitted into that matter of fact aspect of the film. And they were interspersed really really well, really kind of it wasn't jarring in any way. It felt very periodic and very natural because the reporters were watching. They were watching the footage in the room, so you can kind of cut back and forth in a very, um, very simple manner. So yeah, but you didn't like the footage too much. You just thought everything else was like
well, I
great
thought
enough by itself.
my kind of thing with like like when you're making a film is that like if you're like why not kind of do it, like why, like you go into the
I know.
I guess it adds shit ton more money to the budget, especially when you need to create a whole new courtroom set, or you need to get more actors, you need to get all this stuff. So I guess like there's budget reasons for as one of the things, but like when you're so accurately portraying like this kind of this one newsroom side, like I feel like it would have been nice to have these, like I feel like it would have been nice to have like the other scenes recreated as well with the same aesthetic and with the same kind of tone and all that shit. Um, but yeah, I think, but what I do think that the real footage does better than any kind of recreation could have is highlight the absurdity of the accusations, because you see in every time it cuts to it, whether it's talking to Riddlovich or whether it's that Moss woman, it's like both of them are just completely baseless, and like I think the real footage is like what really highlights that there was
Yeah,
nothing to go on, because it's these people talking about it, and it's the real courtroom footage where they refuse to acknowledge any evidence. Um, so I think
yeah,
I guess like that is like the real footage is good for that reason, and like to kind of emphasize that point of like how baseless this kind of got. Um, but yeah, I didn't really have an issue with it. It's just that I would have rathered,
mm.
yeah.
You
Um,
just liked the rest of the film so much more that it was kind of whatever, I guess.
mm,
Mm. Um, yeah, I do agree with you. On that aspect as well. Like, you can really see, the kind of innocence of these people that doesn't really have to be acted out because it's already there. It's already convincing and true and available. So, yeah.
well, I just, like if we're currently in an era of McCarthyism, um, I would have been deemed a communist a long time ago, because my grandparents read Macedonian newspapers and all that stuff. So like you know
Mm.
this show, it wouldn't exist, man. Or you'd have to renounce me.
Mm, yeah. Just that kind of
Yeah.
back to the old days.
Mm.
Yeah, that'd be sad. Um,
Back to the old days of 2 episodes that you did. Come on,
yeah, the
man.
2 episodes. Yeah,
Let go.
that was a joke. Um, yeah, I don't know where else to take this because like this film is so performance centric, I guess.
Yeah.
you have the performances, and then you have the footage. I think the camera work, the directing is quite good.
Yeah.
The lighting is very interesting. Like, I was paying attention to the lighting when Morrow was like walking down a hallway or something, and he was kind of half his face was enveloped in darkness in a very like cinematic way, and then when he's presenting, it's like with all the lights are like brilliantly kind of shining on him on the front of his face, and I think that added a lot. Especially when you combine it with this the great black and white cinematography. I think the lighting was a special part of this film, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
I I don't know if it's the actual case, but like I assume that the cigarette smoke from everyone like constantly thing, like for one, it looks great when it swirls around, but then like I guess like it kind of also diffuses the light to give it like a much softer feel as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
um, mm,
Yeah.
I do love how much they smoked in this film. It is very funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I read something. It was like a Reddit post or something. It was like, if you're too young, you might not understand this, but the whole world used to smell like cigarettes. Everyone used to smoke, and it was like, especially in the 50s and the 60s, where you had this whole. I mean, I call it the madman thing, because that's my way through. My way through is like my way of understanding it is through other media, but um, yeah, everyone used to smoke, I guess,
Yeah,
and they even have the cool like advertisement of like, if
the
you're an
cool
you're an
advertisement.
that was pretty cool. It wasn't. It was funny. It was like, oh, if you're watching this program, you're like an intelligent American. You're like above average in education and intelligence.
Mm.
And if you are one of these people, you'll realize that this cigarette is like much better for you than all the other cigarettes.
Not telling
Um,
them that they're not susceptible to advertising.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's what you need to be
Um,
doing that as your marketing thing.
oh, yeah.
Tell people they're smart
Bring
and then sell it to them.
bring cigarettes back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, Yeah, that was cool. And they had a few of those advertisements. There was something like, aluminum, the aluminum one.
yeah.
Was that was any of that was that footage?
I don't know. So I think the cigarette one was recreated, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
But then I think like the alcohol one, I think the parts of it that were like showing like the farmstead and all like the kind of
Yeah.
heartland, I'd assume that was stock footage. But then other parts of it was recreated, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
But
like
just
that.
speaking about smoking, sorry,
Yeah.
do you see that David Lynch has to give up directing because
Oh, I heard that, but I don't know why.
yeah, it's really funny because in his Twitter post, he's like, he fully defends like cigarettes. Like, I love cigarettes, I love nicotine, I love smoking. I've smoked every day of my life. The reason I have to give up is because of this bloody virus that I caught, and he's like blaming COVID for being like the kind of thing because like, or not, maybe not COVID, but like whatever like the disease. I think it was because the way people told me it seemed like it was COVID, but like it's COVID in conjunction with like his excessive smoking, but like in
Oh,
his like thing announcing that he has to give up directing, he fully defends the cigarettes, and he's like, I love them so much. He's like, they're great, I love them. It's this fucking virus, it's all that, but yeah.
oh my god. Oh no. Damn, that's a real shame. That's a real shame.
Oh, I had a point before I distracted myself.
So did I, man. Why'd you have to talk about David Lynch? No. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, the fact that I was asking what was footage and not.
Uh,
It was easy to pass once we like thought about it. But I think it kind of speaks to the seamlessness of like you know how it interjects the footage with the film. So yeah.
I quite like just like kind of in addition to that, I like the way that they presented, well, like not the way it presented, but like I guess the way it used to have to be done, but like because you couldn't cut away from the newsroom, so like when
Oh
he's
yeah.
interviewing someone, it's like a wider shot of him with them on like a big screen in the background rather than like cutting between as you see now. As I think like just like that, in addition to like a lot of the other things, it was like all like really cool tidbits into like early production of TV and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Seeing the
Yeah,
processes was quite interesting. And how they already had the voiceover um of him like prepared for some video segments. You know, when they cut to that,
Mm.
because you just assume that it's him still talking over it in the newsroom, but um, yeah, the way they had that prepared and you like kind of saw inside that little room was cool. Was cool.
Well, yeah, I always thought like I don't know. I always took it that nowadays it is like a live kind of voiceover when they cut to footage. Is
Yeah,
that
but doesn't make me doubt that. You know, I don't
yeah?
know, because if they
Like,
did that back, if they did this back in the day, you know, surely they only got more efficient. But
mm.
I don't know. I guess I'll have to pay
What's old man
attention.
from Nine called?
What's what? Oh, Peter Hitchener or whatever.
Yeah. Do you reckon his
He's pretty good. I don't know if he has to use it, but
I mean it's pretty seamless, you know.
yeah, yeah. But like, I'll have to pay attention to the news now and see like if they ever you know make any minor verbal mistakes in those video segments. You know,
Mm.
because if they don't, then they're just using the footage and you know cutting it
Yeah.
from the live broadcast, which is pretty cool.
I always thought it was like really interesting seeing a low tech teleprompter,
Oh yeah, yeah, that
a
was
guy
cool.
holding cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, but the like I feel like even the paper and the writing on that was like felt genuine, felt not of today. But
Mm.
yeah, all the inner stuff was cool. Um, and then I feel like there's this. I feel like the dialogue in this film, especially with Murrow, it has this kind of this slight like this wittiness to it. I guess it's like this twee. I mean, maybe not twee. Some people call it twee, but there's cleverness to it. Um, you know, it's a very quippy film, I guess, and you have all the right people to make those quips work. You know, I think that's maybe why RDJ is in this, I guess, because his kind of his you know clapbacks, whatever you want to call them, to like the guy who tried to get him to out his friends and to other people in the newsroom. That he felt very integrated into this, you know, this very smart environment where
Mm.
everyone's got something to say, everyone's got a clever little line, you know.
I think
Um,
you know you kind of like to be a writer back then. I guess you did have to be pretty witty and on your feet, you know.
mm, yeah, I guess so. Mm. It, mm, I'm not gonna lie, it does start to annoy me a bit because it just felt like every line was like someone trying to, you know, one up each other on their like
Yeah.
on their witticisms. But it was cool. It was cool.
I just think
Overall.
this film also just highlights to me. Well, like I don't know, maybe it's not actually the case, but like a film like this makes it feel like it feels like to me it's really showing the chasm in kind of quality of journalism from back then to nowadays. Like I know there's still quality kind of journalism occurring because that's how news happens. You know, like things have to happen, and like I guess there is still high quality things happening, but like it just feels like nowadays there's just like so little integrity, especially like when you compare to this film. And like this isn't only like a I don't know, like even looking at like contemporary Australian examples, like you know, you look at something that you think would be a good kind of quality piece where, you know, that Australian bloke from the ABC, he outed the war crimes happening in Afghanistan. But then a couple months later or whatever, like when he gets pushed, he outs his whistleblower, which is like fucking no number one, you know. And then like he throws his whistleblower under the bus completely, and now his that guy is going to jail. So I'm like, it just feels like journalism has just come down so far from these days, or that you know, like that this film highly romanticizes it anyway, rather. Um, but yeah, I know.
Mm.
Like I love that about kind of journalist films because it always just feels like it's a world away now, where like I don't know, journalists felt like rock stars of the time almost. Um, and
Yeah.
now, like, name one journalist other than Peter.
Name one journalist.
Yeah.
Oh, Peter Hitchener. No. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I feel there was. It does feel there was like a kind of a higher standard, I guess. But like then again, we do have like O'Brien in this film, for example, who's someone who is kind of propagandistic in their writing, and then
Yeah.
we are focusing on like you know the highest of like high status
Yeah.
publications like New York Times and the CBS and stuff like that. um, and we're covering like a historical event that
Yes, true.
involved,
Yeah.
big journalists, so maybe a little bit of that is, um, it can just be mounted to those things, but yeah, I do agree with you where you kind of do want to. It kind of does make you want to like go back a bit. Um, where else do you want to go?
Camera, acting, mise en
Oh yeah,
scene.
mise en scene.
We kind of mentioned that, the kind of
Oh
quality of
yeah,
sets.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think we talked about
Editing.
the rest.
Editing. Anything?
Editing, I don't. I mean,
I mean, the cuts between real
yeah,
and
the cuts
entertaining.
between. Yeah, we kind of mentioned that. Yeah,
Lighting you touched on. Sounds the other thing. I mean,
sound, the
talked about
accents,
the
I guess,
jazz,
the
the
jazz.
punctuates. Did you know it actually it comes in the jazz this hold on, what's her name? I think it's Diana Reeves. Yeah, Diane Reeves. Every 23 minutes, which is the standard running time for a television show from the 50s, is when a jazz song comes in.
Really,
Yeah, I
that's
don't
great.
I don't think it's quite like structured so that it's episodic within 23 minutes each, but it like the jazz kind of comes in to punctuate it that way.
Oh, wait, what do you mean by that?
So like I don't think the actual story is it has been tried to be fit into these 23-minute segments, to make it like clean chapters, but the
Right.
jazz comes in at
Oh, it comes
23
in
minutes.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, that's cool. That's a great tidbit. That illustrates Clooney's dedication
Mm.
to the subject matter.
Have you
Um,
seen many of like have you seen many of his other directing things?
I don't even know what they are really. Do you direct monuments, man? I haven't seen that.
He did Ides of March, yeah, Monuments Man, Suburbicon. Feels like something up your alley.
Oh,
Midnight
no,
Sky.
Midnight Sky. I've not heard of that one.
That's like the 2021.
Oh, right. Yeah, in the north, in the Arctic.
Yeah. Um, I thought I had seen something, but I guess not. I thought he directed Syriana as well, but maybe he must not.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Who directed Syriana?
I always thought Suburbicon was like, I don't know.
Pain film.
It felt to me like a mix, like the halfway point between a Coen Brothers film and like Downsizing. But I
Yeah.
think it just got muddled in my brain in terms of who was behind it.
Well, I mean, I think the Coen influence is kind of is. I mean, I guess that just comes from Clooney having worked with them so much.
Yeah,
Um,
but
but
it
then
kind of
yeah, I 100% understand like the downsizing and like the pain like kind of association as well.
mm. Have you seen any of his other films?
I
Seen
watched like the
Monuments Men?
first 2 minutes of Monuments Men,
Oh, damn.
and yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, it feels like because Monuments Men's got like it's got like a stacked cast, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it feels like he took something from his Ocean's 11, Ocean's film, you know, the casting philosophy there, and just um, graced his films with a bunch of A-listers, which is an interesting technique, I guess. Because like I feel like a lot of these minor roles definitely could have been filled by other people, but it was like the big actor still did a great job here, and it was kind of interesting to have this
Sure. Okay.
massive
All right.
cast.
We got some audience write-ins this week from a new writer. We got Zach with his good night and good luck review. He says, somehow, despite using default Premiere Pro font and being in black and white, I actually found good night and good luck quite compelling. It's a subject matter that easily motivates me to root against the McCarthyism bullshit of the time. While the film does that effectively, I'm not sure I can rate it too highly on its own merits when the strongest scenes were those which were just the real footage from Senate hearings. and there is some irony in George Clooney being paid just $3 in total for this work of a film with RDJ in it. 7 out of 10. And then Andy says that he thinks that Zach. Wait, hold on. I think Zach will agree when I say Julia Roberts should have played Robert Downey Jr.'s wife in the film. Oh, he's just taking a dig there. I'm not sure how you feel about the 90-minute film having 15 minutes of real footage, which Zach briefly mentioned, but everything else was decent. Solid piece of filmmaking from Vomit Boy. He says, "Are you obscure enough to understand that reference?" Is that?
I'm not. I don't know.
No.
Is that like a South Park thing or something? I don't know.
We'll have to. I'll be enlightened tomorrow, I guess. Even though it's pretty much just by the books biopic, this looked visually great in a nostalgic kind of way, but in the end, it didn't do that much for me. However, I did wish Clooney could find a way to make this 2 hours long. Also, I liked the chill, jazzy vibes the film maintained and didn't try to be too overdramatic or emotionally charged, like the usual Oscar bait films. Good timing for me, as I mentioned the Communist Party for this week's response, 6 out of 10.
Cool.
This is Zach and Andy.
Solid reviews from the audience this week. Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with more or less what they both said, so that's fun. We kind of covered everything, I guess, that they mentioned. So we'll get a verdict, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, I'll start. I think this was gonna be a 5 for me, just because of my level of interest. But I think discussing, all the technical elements, how everything coalesces into a pretty well made film. I think I'll give it a 6 overall. I think that the footage is still very strong, and yeah, we covered everything. So yeah, I'll give it a 6. How
What
about you,
time
Jay?
did you watch this film at, by the way? Is there a reason for your disinterest, perhaps?
Well, I finished the New Moon at the same time, at like 2 a.m. So
Okay.
it there's the control variable right there.
Okay.
What about you? What's your verdict?
I will give this an 8. Really did like it. Really vibed with everything. Which I kind of wasn't expecting. Like, I think the runtime actually, like, I know Andy is saying he wished it was extended to 2 hours, but like, I wonder how much that would have affected my enjoyment had they drawn stuff out.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much more there was like to each character's like to the real story, I guess, because you wouldn't want to kind of infuse it with fiction, I guess, just because it's so down to earth.
Yeah.
So
and I think all the introductions we get for the characters are like adequate, if not very good. So like, there's not really any reason to take it back a little bit to kind of introduce people a bit more or anything like that, And there's no need to sit in like kind of what they presented, I don't know, any longer. Yeah. Anyway, regardless, perfect length for me for watching it at the time I did. 8.
Okay, cool. The cinema effect average is a 7, I guess then. All right. On to news chat.
Do you want to do a live ad read?
What have we got?
You can.
Oh, the ad read thing. I don't remember the script.
Don't worry. I just chuck in Zach's little thing.
Oh, no, I can attempt it. And then.
But if it's wrong, don't we get in trouble?
But if we can just edit it, we can
Okay.
just.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Have you? Oh no, I can't.
I can't.
I can't remember the first bit.
Literally just edge us on the first word.
Have you ever used a wait? Let me start again. Let me hold on. Wait. Have you ever experienced this? You're using a mediocre podcast platform, and there's a bunch of bugs, errors, mistakes, bad internet connectivity. You can't hear your co-hosts. Well, try Zencaster. You'll have none of those issues. And what's more, you'll feel a sense of zen. A sense of zen with Zencaster.
And use the
There
cinema
you go.
effect code.
And use the cinema effect code that Jane just said.
Mm.
And you get a discount
Mm.
on your Zencaster membership.
News chat. You watched the SNL trailer.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't really know. So I don't really know any of the people that like started SNL. As Jane said, I know Chevy Chase. Dylan O'Brien's playing Chevy Chase, which is interesting. Oh no, he's not. No, you said that, and then we realized that it's not him.
Yeah.
It's this other guy.
The
Dylan
other
O'Brien's in
dude.
it,
Yeah.
playing someone else.
Mm.
Um, and then what's his name? Nicholas Braun is playing Jim Henson, which is quite funny. But yeah, so Chevy Chase and Jim Henson are the only kind of two people that I know from this cast of people. But I watched the trailer and I kind of got something out of it. Like I kind of feel it was a bit like, especially it's got like Rachel Snot in it. It feels a bit theater campy, a bit like kind of in that vein of like modern like new comedies, like not oh god, what was the lesbian high school film?
Bottoms.
Bottoms, yeah, like Bottoms, theater camp, these type of
Booksmart.
Booksmart, these type of things, you know, that are Rachel Sennott, Molly Gordon kind of adjacent, um, you know, Io adjacent. It's kind of got that vein of humor where it's kind of like, you know, a bit all over the place. It's kind of it feels very like impromptu, I guess. Slightly, actually, this didn't really feel vulgar, but I feel like it could at any moment venture into that kind of little that slight like kind of vulgar humor. But anyway, I was just like, I like this kind of movement in general, I guess, and I feel like this film is part of this new comedic thing that's happening. Um, especially with these like younger actors, you know. Um, Cooper Hoffman being in this film is cool too.
I think Finn Wolfhard's there too.
Finn Wolfhard is in here as well. So I feel like this film could be seminal in starting this kind of this new thing that's
Mm.
already kind of started. Um, and it's just kind of like how Saturday Night is kind of like, you know, it's synchronous with that because Saturday Night is like live is getting started in the film. But yeah, it looks kind of fun. So yeah, I think I'll probably watch it, probably enjoy it. Yeah,
Mm. I just saw that Jason Reitman directing it, and
Jason. Yeah,
I he's great in Ghostbusters Afterlife, and Juno, I guess. But Ghostbusters
mm.
Afterlife is the main thing for me. So
Did he do Up in the Air?
he
Jason
did do Up
Reitman.
in the Air. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good director. I think he did
Mm.
Thank You for Smoking as well,
Mm.
which I haven't seen. For a while.
Ghostbusters Afterlife
Is that his
it's the touchstone for me.
masterpiece?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Um.
Um. mm.
Oh, you're in charge of news chat. We got anything else, Jade?
I watched the 1 minute teaser they released for Disclaimer, which is Alfonso Cuarón. Cuarón?
Quaron.
Oh, no.
Sure.
It's his new little TV show for Apple TV. It looked pretty cool. It looked pretty tense from this trailer. It's got a pretty good cast. Kate Blanchett's there, and some other people who I've forgotten, but was
Yeah.
impressed by. It's not much to go off. It's just kind of the title, kind of scrolling over, and like it kind of cuts between clips as the letters change. Which is cool effect and all, but yeah, not a whole lot, but yeah, it does seem intriguing. Not intriguing enough to buy Apple TV because Apple TV is for losers, but I'll pay attention for it on the other
But
sites.
Zach loves Apple TV for real. Remember when he said that?
Mm.
Okay, another journalist. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
The
journalist.
journalism thing.
Yeah, she exposes kind of trusted uh, institutions. I think.
Okay. More modern journalism type shit.
Mm.
All right. Cool. Anything else that we want to cover? The rumors, you know, the Hollywood Reporter rumors. No. Joaquin
About the Joker.
Phoenix.
Yeah. Mm.
No. Yeah.
I mean, Joaquin is reportedly like not reportedly, but it seems like he's dropped out of Todd Haynes' new film. Is what we're alluding to.
Hmm.
Um, any feeling on that?
Um. Yeah. Yeah. Like I think I've started to really enjoy like Todd Haynes in
Mm.
general. With I'm Not There and with May December. So seeing Joaquin Phoenix in a Todd Haynes film would be pretty great.
Mm.
But yeah, I have no idea like what the reasons are or like what's going on with that film. So
Yeah. So the film was meant to be a detective thriller set in like the 30s with graphic gay sex. Is is
oh,
is
okay,
is is is, is what it was. Um,
it's a
and yeah, so
preteen.
Phoenix seems
30s.
to have dropped out 5 days prior to shooting, and they're now scared that they can't shoot without. Well, they said the film doesn't happen without Phoenix. Is essentially what they were saying. So
Uh,
that it's
mm,
going to be a 7-figure write off potentially. If he remains out.
yeah, Phoenix can be a wild card. But you said it wasn't because he got cold feet because he was down for the graphic stuff.
Well, yeah. So some things are calling it cold feet, but then it doesn't seem like it's cold feet to do with the graphic sex, as some things are implying, because he's the one that was. Well, Haynes says that he was the one that was escalating all that stuff. So it wouldn't really make sense for him to back out at this stage because of that, unless there might be another reason. But who knows? This is all
Mm,
I don't know, half truths, I guess, at the moment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I feel like now that we're doing the soft news, Mill, we've got to mention Borderlands opening with the 0%,
We can, yeah,
which was pretty expected. Well, I
yeah.
mean 0%'s not expected, but
I think it's gone up to 6% now because there's one positive review.
oh yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it's like below, it's like one digit percent now there.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't think I think I was interested in it like when the first trailer came out, but over time it just kind of seemed less and less comedically interesting and like
mm,
I don't know, Kevin Hart's presence kind of just you know it overrode everything else, I guess.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I have no attachment to Borderlands as a series. I was surprised to find out that Zach doesn't like it when we were talking about like the movie and kind of the games in the past few weeks.
Games. Yeah.
But then like since this has come out, I've seen like quite a few people saying that if it's bland and kind of boring, then it matches the game. So I don't know.
Really?
Maybe Borderlands.
Oh no.
Maybe it's not the staple of gaming I thought it was.
Yeah, I feel like some people like really love Borderlands.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird.
But then I think that like I don't know whether that's just people being contrarian now because the game was so I feel like it was like praised to shit
Yeah.
before. No,
Yeah.
yeah,
No. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, definitely an interesting thing for a film to open at such a low percentage, given its
Mm.
cast, given that Craig
Kate
Mazin
Blanchett.
originally
Yeah.
wrote the script, and then
Yeah.
I mean even like I know people have the issues with Eli Roth, but like he's done pretty great stuff in the past. I quite like some of his work. So even to have a film of his be 0% is yeah.
Yeah. It's quite crazy actually. Like you'd
Mm,
think it would find its like kind of middle audience, I guess, like for
yeah,
just a kind of crowd pleasing kind of film. But I mean, video game adaptations
yeah.
continue to
Well,
elude, I guess.
the 0% is from Rotten Tomatoes. Though. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that people are giving it zeros. It just means that people aren't giving it good reviews.
Yeah.
Whereas I
No.
think
It just means it
the
not
Metacritic's a bit
fresh.
higher. Um,
I think IMDb is around like 5.5 or something.
yeah. I mean, the Metacritic's 27, but like that's still like it's still low, but it shows you that it's not like it's an actual like people like are giving it 0, 0.
No, yeah. Yeah. Just the zero number is funny. You know.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Is that it for the news? We covered some hard news, some soft news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good
Editorialized a
mixture.
bit.
Mm. I like they do in the film. Everyone
Mm.
editorializes, as the guy
Not
said.
me. I have zero biases. I was referring to you editorializing.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, you have 100%
Yeah.
journalistic integrity. Yeah. All right, so on to the question of the week, right?
No.
No. Oh,
What have
what
you
is
been
it?
watching, Liam?
What have you been watching? Oh, yeah. What have you been watching? What do you mean? What have you been watching?
Great. Let me quickly check if I actually watched any movies this week.
I can talk. I can talk about Trap.
Oh
Um,
yeah, go ahead on that. Yeah.
yeah, you haven't watched it yet. You're still
No.
lining that up. Okay. Um, yeah. So this was pretty. It was really really fun for for the first two acts. I think. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are kind of saying this. A lot of people are kind of saying the same thing. But um, Josh Hartnett as the butcher is like insanely entertaining. Him trying to maneuver his way out of the uh, the trap of the big stadium and using all his little tricks and stuff was very fun. Um, I mean, he's a very charismatic actor to me. I've been a Josh Hartnett appreciator since we watched O in high school, which is it's a high school adaptation of Othello. Um, and that may seem cringy to some, but I swear to you, the film has great symbolism and is a good film. And Josh Hartnett is great in it. So yeah, it's exciting to see him as a in a main role. Um, his kind of presence in the film adds a lot. He's very convincing as he has to, maneuver his way through this kind of through. He has two kind of identities he has to juggle, I guess, and he's very. He seems like just a decent, trustful bloke on the surface. So he was very fun. He was very good, and all that. And the filming was quite good in the stadium. But yeah, pretty much. I don't know. For me, when we get out of the stadium and especially nearer to the end, it kind of loses me a bit. Shyamalan he's very hit or miss with in general, but he's very hit or miss with whether or not you'll actually end up connecting with the emotions and the characters in the end of the film. I think most people find all of his films kind of fun, um, even if they're bad fun, so bad they're good kind of thing. Um, but the real, the real test is whether or not you'll care about the characters in the end and feel like there was some actual progression or something that you could kind of latch onto. And for me, it was a little. It wasn't great for me in the end. It was a little slapped on, I guess, a little tacked on, and not totally convincing. Um, that being said, the film was a great time, Jaden. You'll enjoy yourself. So, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
But is the film really just a promotional kind of thing for his daughter's music, or is
Oh,
that is that?
yeah. So, does his daughter actually make music? Is that
I think she does. I think she directs and I think she makes music.
well? She was quite good. She was quite a good actor. Um, I don't know if the music.
Shana, is that one? I think.
I don't know if the
Sorry.
music in the film was like her music, or whatever. But I felt like it was supposed. It was like mimicking. Oh, this is a really bad thing to say though. If it's like her music, but it felt like it was similar to other like pop music, like maybe Taylor Swift type stuff.
I mean, that's what pop music is, though.
Mm,
Oh, Salika, sorry. Not, so
Salika.
she's the musician.
And then the other one's
Sean is the
director.
director. Yeah,
Mm,
I didn't even know he had two daughters.
man, he's pulling a Adam Sandler, No, but
Oh yeah,
she was quite good. She was quite good. Um,
oh yeah. So she performed and wrote them. Yes, they are her songs.
oh really?
Mm.
No, they were fine. They were fine. But I felt like they were trying to. I guess they weren't though. But I felt like they were trying to be commentary on I don't know. I feel like they were referencing they were just a reference to other types of pop music that are popular today. But okay, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Not music that I'd listen to, but yeah,
Mm.
cool. Um, yeah. What's your highlight of the week, Jaden?
Um. So I rewatched Too Fast Too Furious this week,
Mm,
which kind of got me going through other ones of the Fast and Furious, and like it made me realize like so I watched Too Fast, and then I watched Fast and Furious, which is the fourth one, and then I watched number six. I don't know why I chose to skip every second one, but it was just what I was doing. But watching Too Fast and Too Furious, and then watching Fast Four, and then Fast Six, it kind of makes you realize how sourceless the modern ones are. Like I still quite like the modern ones, especially number nine. I'm a big fan of it with all with the intense connections to family that number nine has. But like when you look at what the first three do, um, and then even four to an extent, there's a style to it, um, which is just nice to see. Now whether this is me glazing it because I didn't watch it back in the time period, and how much of it is just a 2000s general aesthetic, I'm not 100% sure. But like, I think there is an unquestionable like distinction between the quality of kind of production in not quality production, but like kind of in creating an aesthetic and a style in the first three compared to everything past five. I really like. I don't think it's because of his presence, but ever since Dwayne Johnson rocked up, they became a lot more not bland, but like it became Hollywood action kind of, and to the point where
mm,
like,
okay.
you know how Hollywood action doesn't really have a style because it is just meant for everyone, so there's no really like I said, there's no real sense of style to it.
Mm,
Number five, when they go to Brazil, which is one that I know a lot of people like, and I can kind of see why, but that is the turning point for the franchise where they switch off the style and they just go for kind of a general action kind of thing.
mm,
Um, so it was just interesting kind of looking at because the first time I watched it I was just watching the whole series just to catch up on pop culture, and I wasn't really paying attention to like what it kind of was. So it's interesting looking back now at number two at these kind of periodic installments, and just kind of seeing that change. um, yeah.
okay. So it's up to four. Switches in five. That's interesting.
Yeah, well
Mm.
I think Four's style is there because Brian is still working for the FBI at that point, and
Huh. Okay.
it kind of still has a grounded kind of style in it. It's before they become superheroes.
Hmm.
Um, and then five, as soon as they kind of become outlaws, and then heroes, and then outlaws again, and then heroes again, is where it loses the source.
Mm.
But yeah. Number nine's still great though. I'll stand by number nine.
Is that the one where they go to space, or is that 10?
Yeah, yeah. Number nine, they go to space.
Oh. Now for the question of the week. Last week we asked you. Robert Downey Jr. is reportedly being paid 80 plus million for his role as Doctor Doom. A-list Hollywood actors are paid too much money. Do you agree? So it's like discuss. It's like the English essay. Um, Wait, do we go to other people's answers first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Andy Lau Takwa said, Hollywood is Hollywood. There will be actors that get paid a certain large amount as it helps justify their A-list status. Inflation or not, this amount feels like a traditional thing that has been going on for many decades where the biggest stars naturally get the highest pay. But considering how The Rock is always in the top 10 highest paid actors every year, I swear he is, correct me if I'm wrong, but still delivers generic products, I'm somewhat leaning towards agreeing that they are getting paid way too much. It's really the audience that places these average actors into the spotlight. They're the ones mindlessly allowing them to shine as A-listers with box office numbers and all that shit. So I honestly want to say they're being paid way too much, but knowing Hollywood has always been run like that forever, I really don't blame them. It's mostly based on how the current market is progressing. Mainland China are also the same, and they release wanked products on a weekly basis. With dramas on IQIYI and Yoku dedicating so much to untalented A-listers who are only designed to look like K-pop pale-faced mannequins, Hollywood will always be better than the
The Nintendo bit.
redacted. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can probably guess what he said there, but by the rest of
I don't want
his
to get
statement.
banned from certain places for that.
Yeah, and other, yeah. I mean, Zach can say that next time. Okay, I'll read Zach's now, I guess. He says he agrees with Leanne's comment, so I guess I'll.
I have that up if you want me to go to it.
Okay, yeah, you can read that,
Yeah.
and then I'll read Zach's.
Leanne says the market dictates what certain top actors are paid. Are they worth it? Probably not. Can some command it? Yes. Is Leonardo DiCaprio worth what he is paid? Is Keanu Reeves? Is Tom Cruise? They're important cogs in the huge movie making machine that is Hollywood. So, in a nutshell, the general answer, if Hollywood is to function as we know it, is yes. Very succinct, very punchy.
Very, very, yeah, very eloquently put, very concise. So Zach echoed that a little bit. He said, I entirely agree with Leanne's comments over on YouTube. The amount any actor is paid for a role is based on their perceived value, whether we agree or disagree with the studio execs making those calls. Case in point, Julia Roberts getting $20 million for Ocean's 11 is a terrible investment. What I will say in the case of RDJ's Doom, it's pretty hard to argue against his star power and the buzz generated from him returning to the MCU in this way. And while the two Avengers films will be huge regardless, I do think his role will have a tangible effect on their box office. Maybe they'll go from $1 billion to $1.5 billion movies. Who knows, but they ain't touching the endgame level again. From the actor's point of view, I have no problem with anyone receiving tons of money. Good for them, and I can only hope they use it in a way which brings fulfillment to their own lives and helps others. It's kind of hard to take this further without getting into a larger conversation about capitalism. So go ahead if you have the balls! Exclamation mark at the end there. And then Dr. Luke said, the question of whether A-list Hollywood actors are paid too much is subjective and depends on one's perspective on the entertainment industry, economics, and the value of creative work. Having said that, yes. Well,
Having said that, yes, he is getting paid too much.
Yeah. But was that AI? That some of these responses felt like AI and like some of the sentences. Maybe I'm just hallucinating. But yeah, okay.
Yeah. I just want to say with Andy's thing about even with inflation, this is what actors are always getting paid. I disagree with that. I think because back in the day when I was fresh to YouTube, I used to watch top 10 actors, top 10 highest earning actors on Watch Mojo back in the day. And these people were getting paid 40 million for a full year, for multiple roles. These people weren't getting 80 million for one role, So I disagree with the fact that they were always getting this paid this much. They were always getting absurd amounts. Not absurd, because that once again, like whether you want to call it absurd comes down to how much value you place on an actor. But I think there's definitely been a massive hike in the amount that studios are willing to pay, especially with these kind of big studio products. Your Disney's, who else is there now? Disney's bought everyone.
Well, I'll just there's actually like a little bit more because Zach reinvigorated the conversation by asking Luke, "Is RDJ worth 80 million for Doctor Doom Spooky?" And he said, "Honestly, I don't think we'll know until we see it. Some actors, you can tell beforehand if their performance is going to be a slam dunk. Unfortunately for RDJ, the tension between his ability as an actor, his previous role, and sweaty Marvel fans is too great to know anything for certain beforehand." Okay, but yeah, back to what you were saying. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, I think the main issue is like the amount of actors. It feels more like what's the word? It feels more like um it just feels like more clustered, I guess, with like who gets all the money. Like as Leanne kind of listed, there's probably like 5 actors which kind of commands this kind of pay these days. And then for everyone else, it's much more, much more spread out. So I think that's probably the main issue. I'm obviously the same. Well, not like Zach's stance is pretty agreeable. Like you can't really feel. I don't really feel any envy or any hatred towards like actors who get paid this much. The conversation isn't really about that, I guess. But yeah, Yeah, I don't know. It does feel a bit different from the past in the sense that um, the star power that we have today is much more like monopolized to a few people, I guess.
Yeah, I think the issue is that this 80 million, when it's going to one actor, means that you're compromising on quality elsewhere. You're compromising on the quality of CG, of sets, of locations, of lighting rigs, of camera rigs, of other actors, directors that you can hire.
Mm.
When one actor is soaking up such a significant portion of the budget, um, and that doesn't have to be the case. Like you can pay 80 million, and then you can make a fantastic movie off the rest of the money if you want. But Marvel hasn't given us an example of that yet. When for us to see, could the quality be distributed,
Well,
to other locations? Um,
yeah, but I mean, he got paid a shit ton for like Infinity War
yeah,
and
but
like
yes,
Endgame,
true, yeah,
and those were still
but
good.
yeah, the I'm kind of talking post kind of phase
Yeah,
four,
well,
whatever the
I
fuck
mean,
it
the
is.
question is whether or not they can bring that back there. I think that's like part of why the Russo brothers were like brought back to kind of emulate those, that form of success. But I do agree with you where, like in post Endgame Marvel, it feels like the budget often like disappears,
Yeah,
especially with like the TV shows, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, big time in the TV shows. Yeah, you have the most expensive TV shows ever being produced. A significant chunk of it does go to the actors,
Mm.
and then you don't feel where the rest of the budget is. So, is the solution what, pay actors less and invest more in in the other parts of the filmmaking process, or is it get better people to work on your films? Like, but then that can't be the case because I assume as one of the biggest studios, you're hiring the best people. So what happens?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, so I think the only show I've watched is Falcon and the Winter Soldier still.
Mm,
Um, and that felt like, I mean, I'm pretty sure that was a big production, big budget show. Um, and I feel like even in that show, the CG wasn't there, and just like a lot of it felt poorly produced and awkward. And I guess a lot of the money might have gone to the actors in that. Um, but it's hard to
yeah,
tell for me because I haven't seen these other products.
yeah, and like like I understand that. Like I think Zach's point, like this like that he's standing on, in that people who are we to judge like how much get the money they get, whatever. Like that's completely fine. Who are we to say if he deserves so much money? But I think there's an issue, like kind of ethically, when you have actors on strike constantly, like lower actors, that is,
Hmm.
um, because they don't get paid. I think people often interpret that all actors get paid a shit ton, but then Matt Damon kind of put it really well one time when he was asked, should a teacher get paid as much as the average actor, and he goes, absolutely not. They do not. Like he's like, because he's like, I know what the average actor makes, which is fuck all. So then you're like,
Hmm.
well, should we then, um, like so then there's like kind of this like question where like, should RDJ's funds be more equally distributed? Is kind of what I was trying to say. Uh,
Yeah, I think
um,
that's the important question. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
because who's to say, like, yeah, he deserves his money absolutely, because Marvel's going to make the money off of him with marketing, with brand deals, with archive footage that they can use from this film and all that stuff. He deserves a lot of money, as part of the Hollywood machine, sure, but does he deserve that much? Mm.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I thought there'd be more to kind of discuss, but yeah, I don't really mind this decision in like this specific decision, I guess. Because they can have such a huge budget for these films anyway. Um.
Yeah,
But yeah, in general, I mean, I agree with Andy's. I mean, so Andy took issue with like The Rock, and I guess that's like where people will get most aggrieved by this kind of thing, where like all the money is going to actors they don't like or generic kind of products, and it's just kind of um, continuing this like cycle of kind of whatever films with these huge actors, um, which is something which I definitely like understand the hate for from this angle, because then all the money is just going to star power. Like it's like red notice kind of thing, you know.
Mm.
Um, and that kind of sucks. Um, so yeah, I mean, The Rock is kind of the biggest example, I guess, because he is one of those few actors who gets like paid a shit ton and has been for a while.
I
Um,
feel like it's almost unjustified at this point, though, right? Like, is The Rock still bringing in an audience?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, he must be.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like yeah, he has a massive like social media presence and everything.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like for Tom Cruise can obviously get paid whatever, and he'll bring in the money like he did for freaking Top Gun and stuff. So like, yeah, I don't know.
The thing is this is 80 million plus. So like, I assume he's going to get some percentage of residuals or even a percentage of box office, um,
Mm,
which is then
yeah,
going to make the thing even more absurd. You know.
I guess so. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's just like the least. It's the most agreeable circumstance in which this issue could like be brought up. You know what I mean? Like I for this case, I totally understand, and I don't really have an issue with it.
Mm.
But just the number is what is kind of setting people
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
But there are other cases, I think, especially with The Rock, where it's like, what are we doing here? We're just kind of putting all our money into star power, and it's kind of cringe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think the biggest issue is that you're not getting the quality out of the money that you're paying,
Mm,
because I don't know, like, when was the last time? I mean, like, RDJ as Iron Man was probably like the last time that it was truly worth the money that he was getting. You know, like, there's been good performances in Marvel post that, sure, but nothing's kind of quite rivaled it, in terms of like how much you want to pay and shit like that. Um,
mm, yeah.
and the quality that you get out of it. You know, the return of investment.
Yeah. I mean, I guess as Luke says, it remains to be seen whether or not he can bring the same kind of presence as he does Iron Man. But like, I think he will pull it off in the end.
Yeah,
That's just kind of my
yeah.
prediction. But yeah. Um, yeah, we kind of got somewhere in that discussion. I kind of went around in circles, but um, yeah, thank you for the insightful responses. I feel like we squeezed the juice a little bit out of the question. So yeah, what's next? Next film, next week's film.
Uh, Next week's question, I guess, is what
The
it gets
question.
said first. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, Next week, we're asking you. I feel like there's a smoother transition for this, isn't there? Not.
Do you want to go back and then like be more smooth about it? Or
I don't know. I feel like there's like a little like connecting verb or something that Zach says to kind of
mm,
transition out of it.
connecting verb? Yeah.
Because I feel like if I was to say thanks for the discussion, by the way, next week's question, like how do you get out of this? You know.
All right. I think it's more about like the elocution. You just gotta say, okay,
Mm,
next week's question. Next week we're asking you. You know,
okay. All right.
it's just about announcing the next
Yeah.
part of the podcast. Yeah.
All right. Next week's questions. Fuck, nah. I
Oh, you
can't.
fucked it, man.
Yeah, nah. All right. Anyway, next week's questions is what is the coldest movie you've seen that is set in a non-natural environment?
Yeah.
Liam, why are we asking this question?
Well, we're asking this question because Prisoners has won the poll. Big turnout in the poll. Which is good. I criticize the choice of Prisoners because it's like the most generic cinema effect. Poor choice, but yeah, we got a lot of votes, so that's good, and discussing prisons will be fun. Um, but do we want to clarify the question? I guess.
Um, yeah. So we're saying coldest movie that's not set in a natural environment. So like we kind of want to exclude things set in the Arctic or the Andes and stuff like that.
Mm,
We want cold feeling movies in a kind of
yeah.
suburban or
No
city.
poles.
You know,
No mountains.
you know,
Yeah.
a cold countryside maybe. You know, if you're on like a ranch or some shit. I don't know
Yeah.
if an example exists. But like, yeah, we kind of want to avoid like the real natural stuff. You know, yeah,
It
because
has to be a safe way
yeah,
within 30 kilometers, let's say.
sure, yeah. Um, where can we watch Prisoners Lane?
Also, Prisoners is on ABC iView. Um, so, yeah, Zach inquired last week whether or not there are ads on iView, and I'm not sure. But, yeah, free service in Australia. Don't know where else it is in other countries, but oh, it's not on iView, but I guess you're using VPN or something.
Mm.
But yeah, yeah. So
So do you want to wrap up? And
yeah, sure. Yeah. Thank you for listening. That was a good discussion, I think. Good night and good luck.